Picture this: London, a city draped in an impenetrable shroud of thick fog, each wisp hiding centuries-old secrets. As you step onto a desolate bridge, the air thickens, and an eerie chill grips the surroundings. In October 1837, a girl by the name of Mary Stevens was walking to Lavender Hill, where she was working as a servant after visiting her parents in Battersea. On her way through Clapham Common, a strange figure leaped at her from a dark alley. After immobilizing her with a tight grip on his arms, he began ripping her clothes and touching her flesh with his claws, which were cold and clammy as those of a corpse, and breathing out blue and white flames. In panic, the girl screamed, making the attacker quickly flee from the scene. The encounter on this mist-laden bridge unravels the first threads of the captivating and mysterious tale that is Spring-Heeled Jack. The saga began in 1837, with the first sightings in London. By January 9, 1838, reports of strange occurrences spread like wildfire, igniting public alarm. It was then that Sir John Cowan, the Lord Mayor of London, received an anonymous letter. The letter claimed the sightings were but an elaborate ruse, a bet between two high society figures to terrorize local villages in disguises of a ghost, a bear, and a devil. Though skeptical, the mayor couldn't ignore the growing hysteria. The very next day, newspapers across the nation were abuzz with the story. On January 11th, compelled by the sheer volume of letters from concerned citizens, the mayor publicly revealed a mountain of complaints detailing similar encounters. A reward was offered for the capture of these pranksters. The press, despite attempts at restraint, found themselves drawn to the enigma of Spring-Heeled Jack. Every rustle in the night, every shadow cast by the moon, was attributed to this elusive figure. Tales of his exploits took on a life of their own, sensationalized on the front pages of penny dreadfuls. These stories were devoured by all, from the chimney sweeps to the elite, each narrative more thrilling than the last. Writers spun fantastic yarns of Jack's daring escapades, his fiery breath, and dramatic rooftop pursuits. Stories so vivid they left even the boldest of policemen quaking in their boots. His assaults were as varied as his guises, yet one particular encounter eclipsed all others in sheer terror. This was the harrowing incident on the night of February 19, 1838, when Jane Alsop personally confronted this menacing figure. Answering the door of her father's house, she met a man claiming to be a police officer, urgently requesting a light, declaring, "We have caught Spring-Heeled Jack here in the lane." Obligingly, she brought him a candle and observed his large cloak. But in a chilling turn, upon receiving the candle, he cast off his cloak to reveal a grotesque visage, spewing blue and white flames from his mouth, his eyes blazing like red orbs of fire. Miss Alsop noted his large helmet and the white oil-skin-like material of his tight attire. In a sudden, wordless attack, he grasped her, his claws, seemingly made of metal, tearing at her gown. She screamed, managing to escape his grasp, and fled toward the house. On the steps, he seized her again, clawing at her neck and arms. It was only the timely intervention of her sister that saved her, causing the assailant to flee into the night. On a cold evening of February 28, 1838, just 9 days following the eerie attack on Miss Alsop, a new chapter unfolded in the streets of Limehouse. Lucy Scales, a young woman of 18, and her sister were making their way home after a visit to their brother, a reputable butcher in the area. The night was quiet as they walked, the only sound their footsteps echoing in the empty streets. As they ventured through Green Dragon Alley, a narrow, dimly lit passage, Lucy, leading the way, noticed a shadowy figure lurking at a corner. The figure, cloaked in a large garment, seemed to blend with the darkness. Unaware of the impending horror, Lucy drew closer to the mysterious stranger. In an instant that seemed to stretch into eternity, the cloaked figure turned towards her and unleashed a terrifying spectacle. A burst of blue flame erupted from within the cloak, engulfing Lucy's face in a blinding light. Overcome by shock and fear, Lucy lost her sight and balance, collapsing to the ground as violent fits overtook her body. Meanwhile, Lucy's brother, having bid his sisters goodbye moments before, was startled by a sudden, piercing scream. Rushing out, he followed the sound to Green Dragon Alley. There, he found Lucy convulsed on the ground, her sister beside her, frantic with worry, trying to offer comfort. Later, at their home, the other sister recounted the harrowing encounter to their brother. The assailant, she described, was a tall, thin man with a gentlemanly air, his identity hidden beneath a large cloak. In his hand, he carried a small lamp or bullseye lantern, akin to those used by the police. Strangely, the man had not spoken a word, nor attempted any physical harm. He had simply vanished into the night as quickly as he had appeared. As the 1870s dawned, the whispers of Spring-Heeled Jack resurfaced, stirring the imagination and fear of England. In November 1872, Peckham was abuzz with talks of the Peckham ghost, a mysterious and alarming figure reported by the News of the World. The publication suggested that this ghost was none other than Spring-Heeled Jack, the same entity that had terrorized a previous generation. The following year, in Sheffield, a similar specter dubbed the Park Ghost was sighted numerous times. The locals, too, linked these apparitions to the infamous Spring-Heeled Jack. The tales of his presence spread, each sighting more curious and unnerving than the last. In August 1877, a remarkable encounter occurred at Aldershot Garrison. A sentry, stationed in the North Camp, was startled by a strange figure advancing towards him in the darkness. Despite the soldier's challenge, the figure approached, slapped him several times, and then, undeterred by a guard's gunfire, vanished into the night with incredible leaps. This event was not isolated. In the same year, at Newport Arch, Spring-Heeled Jack, reportedly clad in sheepskin, once again demonstrated his astonishing ability to evade capture. An angry mob cornered him, but their efforts were futile. He leaped away, disappearing from sight. By the end of the 19th century, sightings had shifted northwest. Around 1888 in Everton, North Liverpool, he was reportedly seen on the rooftop of St. Francis Xavier's Church on Salisbury Street. His last known appearance was in nearby William Henry Street in 1904. Throughout these years, many speculated about the true nature of Spring-Heeled Jack. Was he a supernatural being, a demon, or a disgruntled prankster? Conspiracy theories abounded, becoming more outlandish with each retelling. In the swirling mists of 1830s London, a rumor took flight, casting a shadow over one notorious figure, an Irish nobleman by the name of Lord Waterford, a Marquess known for his scandalous behavior. Whispers in the streets and taverns suggested he was the mastermind behind the terrifying phenomenon of Spring-Heeled Jack. Modern authors, delving into the depths of this mystery, have posited that Lord Waterford might have played a part in the inception of Spring-Heeled Jack. A personal vendetta, perhaps, born from a humiliating encounter with a woman and a police officer, could have sparked the idea. They imagined him, fueled by a desire for retribution against the police and women, creating this menacing character. Theories abounded that Waterford, with the aid of mechanically inclined friends, could have designed an apparatus for Spring-Heeled boots, practicing fire-spitting techniques to augment the otherworldly aura of his character. A telling clue emerged from the Ashworth incident. During a servant boy's account of his encounter with Spring-Heeled Jack, he noticed an embroidered coat of arms bearing a W, a stark coincidence with Waterford's title. Indeed, the Mad Marquess, as he was infamously known, was no stranger to the public eye. His late 1830s escapades of drunken brawls, cruel jokes, and vandalism were well documented, and his disregard for societal norms and contempt for women were notorious. His presence in London during the initial Spring-Heeled Jack incidents only fueled the speculation. Yet, as the tale of this leaping specter persisted even after Waterford's demise in 1859, the full weight of responsibility couldn't rest solely on his shoulders, which may lead to darker and supernatural theories. In the shadowed corners of London's history, the origins of Spring-Heeled Jack have stirred a cauldron of speculative paranormal theories. Among these, a prominent one paints him as an extraterrestrial being, his appearance and abilities far removed from the human realm. Picture a creature with retro-reflective red eyes and breath of phosphorus, a being whose agility and extraordinary leaps could only be explained by life in a high-gravity world. His bizarre behaviors and unmatched jumping prowess led many to believe he was not of this earth. Descriptions of tight-fitting oilskin and helmets often draws a parallel to extraterrestrial encounters of the 20th century. Another chilling theory casts Spring-Heeled Jack as a demon, brought forth into the world through the dark arts. Some whispered of occult practitioners summoning him, either by accident or design, while others believed he manifested of his own volition, sowing spiritual chaos wherever he appeared. In the realms of Fortean research, authors like Lauren Coleman and Jerome Clark categorize Spring-Heeled Jack among phantom attackers. This elusive group, which also includes the infamous Mad Gasser of Mattoon, is characterized by seemingly human figures who display extraordinary abilities beyond the scope of ordinary criminals. Spring-Heeled Jack's legendary leaps, which would shatter the bones of any mortal attempting them, place him squarely in this mysterious category. Victims of these phantom attackers often recount their experiences in secure places like bedrooms or homes, describing feelings of being pinned or paralyzed. Others tell tales of a siege where they fend off a relentless intruder. While many such encounters can be explained through psychological phenomena, like the old hag syndrome known in folklore and psychology as a form of hallucination, there are cases that leave tangible traces, yet remain inexplicably unsolvable. Could any of these paranormal theories be true? We don't know for certain, and it is likely we will never find out. For nearly 70 years, Spring-Heeled Jack remained an elusive shadow, a figure of legend fueled by fear, sensationalism, and perhaps a hint of truth. Despite the extraordinary abilities attributed to him and the long period he was reportedly at large, his identity was never uncovered. The story does not, however, end in Britain. Between 1939 and 1945, in Czechoslovakia, a character known as Perak, the Spring Man of Prague, entered the folklore. This figure, much like Spring-Heeled Jack, was renowned for his elusive nature and extraordinary leaping abilities. Scholars, including Mike Dash, have drawn compelling parallels between these two characters, highlighting a fascinating cross-cultural resemblance in their tales. Interestingly, this pattern of mysterious jumpers is not confined to Europe. In the early 2000s, Delhi, India, was gripped by tales of the Monkey Man of Delhi, an agile and mysterious entity that sparked both fear and intrigue among the people. We will explore these related incidences in future episodes. The legend of Spring-Heeled Jack still lives on today, but who or what he was remains a mystery. Was he a mischievous prankster, a creature of the night, or just a product of Victorian imagination? We may never know the answer, but one thing is certain. He remains a ghostly figure in the gaslit streets and a shadowy presence in the fog.